Welcome to day 3 of the second edition of the online Kirloskar Vasundhara Ram Nadi festival. We are so glad that you could join us for this important festival for this small river in Pune city. Hopefully, after the festival ends, you will be able to visit the rivers in your neighborhood and see what their condition is and what can be done for their restoration. Yesterday, we saw how teachers and colleges have gotten involved in restoring the Ram Nadi. We also visited the Pashan Lake and saw how lotus plantations have been done at the Khatpewadi Lake in the Ram Nadi's source region. Today, we have different aspects of the restoration mission lined up for you. We will explore natural farming as well as terrace gardening. We will also be introduced to a plan for the restoration of the Pashan Lake. We are joined on the final day by Virendra Chitra, the festival director of the Ram Nadi festival. He is a well-known organizer, orator, writer, critic and is fond of environmental advocacy. He is the festival director of the Kirloskar Vasundhara International Film Festival. He is the regional council member of the Federation of Film Societies of India and the ex-president of its Maharashtra chapter. Let's hear from Virendra Chitra.
It is my great pleasure to say thank you for your overwhelming response to second online Ram Nadi festival. It was organized by Kirloskar Vasundhara Ram Nadi Restoration Mission. Sole aim of this festival is to bring back lost glory of this neglected river. This year also, we tried to create awareness by screening number of action taken by us across all stretches of the river. It includes floating bed activity, plantation and maintenance, wall paintings, photo walk, Indian lotus plantation, regular cleaning drives, teachers training program, Pashan Lake restoration, etc. We also tried to present innovative films related to Ram Nadi like Know Our Ram Nadi, Terrace Gardening Workshop, Jarsheshwar Temple and Pashan Lake Walkthrough, Natural Farming and how we can restore the river through ecological approach. I am sure that after attending this festival, you, your family members and your friend circle will initiate ourselves for the environmental protection actions. Recently, Ram Nadi Restoration Mission has completed 3 years of its journey. I always believe that such type of festivals encourages youth for taking environmental protection actions. Let us join hands, come together and act for the betterment of our beloved Mother Earth.
माझं लहानपण या रामनदीच्या काठी हसत खेळत गेलेलं आहे. लहानाचा मोठं रामनदीच्या पाण्याशी खेळताना, नदीमध्ये खेळताना झालेलं आहे. आम्ही लहानपणी या रामनदीमध्ये पोहण्यासाठी, खेळण्यासाठी येत होतो. इथलं पाणी पिलेलं आहे. इथल्या पाणी बैलगाडीच्या माध्यमातून अनेक नागरिकांपर्यंत पोहोचून त्यांची तहान भागवण्याचं काम या रामनदीने केलेलं आहे. या परिसरातील शेती व्यवसाय या रामनदीच्या पाण्यावर वाढलेला मी पाहिलेला आहे. पाषाण हा भाजी मंडईसाठी प्रसिद्ध असलेला परिसर आहे. या परिसरातील सर्व नागरिक आपल्या शेतजमिनीतून या रामनदीच्या पाण्याच्या माध्यमातून शेती व्यवसाय करत होता आणि त्या शेतीतून निघणारी भाजी आपल्या परिसरामध्ये भाजी मार्केटमध्ये विकत होती. आसपासचे नागरिक मोठ्या उत्साहाने या परिसरात भाजी खरेदीसाठी येत असत. त्याचप्रमाणे समृद्ध रामनदी पाहून त्यांना आनंद होत असे. पण आजच्या वाढत्या शहरीकरणामुळे आज रामनदीची जी अवस्था झालेली आहे, माझ्यासारख्या नागरिकाला ती पाहून अतिशय दुःख होत आहे. आज पूर्वीची रामनदी आज राहिलेली नाही आहे. वाढत्या शहरीकरणामुळे ड्रेनेजचं पाणी, ज्याला सिवेज आपण म्हणतो, हे सिवेज मोठ्या प्रमाणात रामनदीत सोडण्यात आलेलं आहे. पाणी अतिशय दूषित झालेली आहे. रामनदी असेल, पाषाण तलाव असेल, हे सगळं पाणी दूषित झालेलं आहे. माझ्यासारख्या यातल्या स्थानिक नागरिकाला असं वाटतं की ह्या रामनदीला तिचं गतवैभव पुन्हा एकदा मिळालं पाहिजे. रामनदीच्या काठीची अनेक विहिरी आहेत, मी स्वतः पाहिलेल्या आहे. पाषाणमध्ये जे वाकेश्वराचं मंदिर आहे, मंदिराच्या समोरच त्या विहिरीचे अवशेष आपण आजही पाहू शकतो. त्या विहिरीवर मोटेच्या माध्यमातून या रामनदीतनं पाणी उचललेलं मी स्वतः डोळ्यांनी पाहिलेलं आहे आणि ते शेतीसाठी वापरण्यात आलेलं आहे. आंबेढोव, सापढोव, बेलठिका असे वेगवेगळे पार्ट होते नदीचे. त्या पार्टमध्ये आम्ही शाळेत असताना सर्व लहान मुलं जमायचो. मनसोक्त त्यामध्ये पोहायचो, डुंबायचो आणि आमचं जीवन त्या ठिकाणी या रामनदीच्या काठी व्यतीत करत होतो. आज ती परिस्थिती राहिलेली नाही आहे. आज ते डोह कुठं लुप्त झालेले आहेत हे कोणाला सांगता येणार नाही. माझ्यासारख्या नागरिकाला सुद्धा ज्यावेळेस ते शोधायची वेळ आली तर एक दिवस जाईल, अशी या परिस्थिती झालेली आहे. ही परिस्थिती कोणामुळे निर्माण झाली? तुमच्या आमच्या हलगर्जीपणामुळेच निर्माण झालेली आहे. आपल्याला याच्यातनं कसा मार्ग काढता येईल आणि पुन्हा रामनदी कशी स्वच्छ करता येईल याच्यासाठी आपण निश्चितच प्रयत्न केलेले पाहिजे. अनेक विहिरींचे अवशेष आजही आपण रामनदीच्या काठी पाहू शकतो. पूर्वी मोठ बांधली जायची. विहिरीवरनं बैलाच्या माध्यमातून ह्या नदीचं पाणी विहिरीत घेतलं जायचं. विहिरीतनं ते शेतीसाठी पुरवलं जायचं आणि एक समृद्ध शेती या परिसरामध्ये होत होती. शेती व्यवसाय मोठ्या प्रमाणात होत होता आणि त्याला पूरक अशी रामनदी, या रामनदीचं पुन्हा गतवैभव, तिला पुन्हा पुनरुज्जीवित करण्यासाठी आपण सर्वांनी एक प्रामाणिक प्रयत्न करावा.
The Jarsheshwar temple in the source region of the Ram Nadi is situated at the end of a winding road in the middle of beautiful hills. The temple holds mythological value and devotees throng to the temple during festivals. Such locations, which are steeped in faith, are crucial to protecting the landscape and thus the rivers. Let's take a trip to the Jarsheshwar temple now.
Today we are here at Ram Nadi source region at Jarsheshwar temple. As you circumvent Khadakwasla dam waters, on the right a private road branches off and goes up the hill towards Jarsheshwar temple. It is picturesque winding road. Every bend and turn offers great views of Khadakwasla dam backwaters. Original temple contains only shrine and an expansion of temple has been carried out 15 years ago. An entrance arch welcomes you to the temple. There is decorated Ardhamandapa or entrance porch leading to an ornate entrance door to the temple. The temple is simple one-room temple containing Garbhagriha with shrine and Mandapa with Nadi. Architecture of the new temple shows influence of various styles of Dravidian and Maratha architecture. Around temple, there are many old age tablets depicting gods and goddesses, clearly shows original temple is considerably old. As locals believe, it is constructed by Pandavas during their exile. On the left side of the temple, there is Bhagirathi Kund, where holy Ganga appears on Mahashivratri day as the locals believe. Now let's see what locals have to say about this temple and the locations around it. जरा थोडीशी आम्हाला त्या देवळाची माहिती सांगू शकाल का? म्हणजे जरशेश्वर का म्हणतात?
जरशेश्वर महादेव मंदिर म्हणजे स्वयंभू आहे.
स्वयंभू.
हा आणि पांडवकालीन मंदिर ते.
मग हे दंडकारण्य म्हणतात का ह्याला?
हो, दंडकारण्य.
अच्छा. म्हणजे सीतामाई इथे येऊन राहिल्या होत्या?
सीतामाई इथे येऊन गेल्यात. अंकुशा जन्मवरती आलेलं ते मंदिरावरती.
बरं. आणि भागीरथी कुंडाबद्दल सांगता का थोडं?
हो, ते कुंड आहे असं बुयार आहे. म्हणजे शिवरात्रीचा उपास मग आरती झाल्यानंतर एक गडवाभर पाणी मग ते
त्या कुंडामध्ये येतं. पण मग ते कुठून येतं असं समज आहे?
हो, आतमध्ये मंदिराच्या पिंडी इकडे भुयार आहे असं पुढं मग बरंच वाकून असं कुंड असं म्हणजे फडक्याने पिळून गडव्यात घ्यावं लागतं.
घ्यावे लागतं.
हम्म.
बर, पण दरवर्षी येतं?
दरवर्षी.
दरवर्षी येतं.
हं.
आणि मग आता हे पांडव तळ्याचं काय, म्हणजे त्याचा
पांडवकालीन तळ
माहिती काय?
म्हणजे असंच पांडवकालीन म्हणजे हे मंदिर झालं त्यावेळेस हे पांडव इथं होते. मग त्यावेळेस त्यांनी एका रातीत बांधलेले आहे ते.
आणि तिथे म्हणजे स्वयंभू पाणी येतं का
नाही नाही नाही,
पावसाचं पाणी?
पावसाचं जरा थोडासाच आहे, पण पावसाचं पाणी
हा,
ते पावसामुळे भरतं पाणी.
पाणी भरतं.
हो, नंतर मग ते वरती
वरती हा
लवंकुशाचं
लवकुशाचं मंदिर आहे का?
हो मंदिर आहे. तिथं बाज आहे सीतामाईची.
हम्म,
खडकावरती पावलं आहेत
हम्म,
आणि तिथून सीतामाई बुक्कुम म्हणून गाव आहे ना,
हा,
तिथं दुह्याला जायच्या रोज.
बर.
असं एवढं
आणि मग लवकुशांचा जन्म तिथे झाला
जन्म हो
अशी आख्यायिका आहे ना?
आख्यायिका.
अच्छा. आणि मग सगळं हे दंडकारण्य म्हणतात ह्याला.
दंडकारण्य
पण मग पांडवकालीन हे देऊळ आणि
देऊळ,
पांडवकालीन ते
तळ.
तळ.
हो,
आणि सीतामाईंमुळे ती भागीरथी गंगा
प्रगट
येते,
झाली. हो,
प्रगट झाली. आणि
सीतामाईच्या कृपेने.
लवकुशांचं
ते
तिथे
पिंड जे आहेत ना बारक्या बारक्या
हा,
दोन,
हा.
ते लवंकुशाचे आहेत.
बर बर बर. आणि मग आता इथे जेव्हा तुमचा उत्सव असतो महाशिवरात्रीचा, तर किती लोक येतात आणि कुठून कुठून येतात?
आता हे 40 गावच्या शिवेवरती आहे.
40
40 गावच्या
गावांच्या
शिमेवरती.
शिवेवरती
हा,
आहे देऊळ.
म्हणजे मांडवी असेल, सांगरुण असेल, कातवडी असेल, बहुली असेल, भगतवाडी, गायकवाडवाडी, आगळंब, बारावाड्या, हे
बर
सगळं लोक इथनं येतात. मग माळवाडी असो, करवीनगर असो,
बर बर.
खडकवासला असो,
मग
सगळे
किती साधारण किती लोक असतात?
साधारण नाही म्हणलं तरी रोजचे 500-600. आणि
हो का?
शिवरात्री शीत काय बोलायचं
शिवरात्रीचं विचारते मी.
शिवरात्रीला कमीत कमी लाखाच्या पुढं. आणि ही पिंड जी आहे ती अशी म्हणजे जाळी होती, करवंदाच्या जाळ्या असायच्या.
हम्म,
पण इथं काहीच नव्हतं. जाळ्या असल्यानंतर गायी आहे ना,
हम्म.
गायी घरी दार काढले तरी गायी घरून सोडल्या ना की तिथे यायची.
हा.
म्हणून लोक म्हणली हे काय आहे इथं असं.
हा,
म्हणून
हा.
ती जाळी
अच्छा,
तोडली.
म्हणून स्वयंभू आहे
हा,
म्हणतात.
आणि मग ती जाळी तोडली
हा.
आणि ते उकरून घेतलं, बघितलं तर स्वयंभू
हा.
हे बाबा निघाले. हो,
अच्छा, अशी आख्यायिका आहे
अशी
म्हणजे. हा.
आख्यायिका.
A winding dirt road leads to a water tank called Pandav Tal. Legend says that during their exile, Pandavas camped at this location and constructed this tank in one night for collecting rainwater. On a little hillock, there is a tiny temple of Lavkush. Local legend says that goddess Sita gave birth to Lavkush at this location. As this temple is on the border of 40 villages, thousands of devotees visit this temple on Mahashivratri festival day, and it is a spectacle to see.
Organic food, chemical-free produce, naturally grown grains. We have heard these terms increasingly being used by grocery stores. But are these claims reliable? Can we trust them? Without a reliable certification authority, we have no means of saying whether these claims are true or not. So, how do you find really chemical free, naturally grown food for your family? The answer is simple: grow your own food. Contrary to popular belief, you don't need to be living in a bungalow. A terrace, a balcony, or even the perimeter of your parking lot will suffice for growing your own veggies. Today, we take you into the house of an extraordinary retired couple of Mr. and Mrs. Ugaukar. They have developed their small plot around their bungalow into a veritable urban farm. They are going to walk us through their urban farm and show us some of the ideas which have worked for them. They'll give us a few tips and tricks to help us set on our own urban farming venture. So without much ado, let's enter Mr. and Mrs. Ugaukar's bungalow.
We came here in 1985, and from then on we are doing this thing. Then when we came here, we had in mind that we are going to do a gardening, and we want to do the gardening only in organic form. Very few people were knowing about what is organic, but we had in mind that we should do chemical-less gardening. That was our purpose right from beginning. So we had lot of problem because there was no guidance as such. Organic insecticide, from where we will get organic fertilizer, and what are they, how effective they are. So we struggle a lot, but steadily we started in a pot first, and we were doing down only. There was not soil as such, but it was a mixture of calcium carbonate, concreting, part concreting, and soil. So we had to remove that. So we started with cow dung. With a pot, we started doing this thing. But when this building started coming, we came up with this problem that there is not going to be much light here. Then we shifted on a terrace. So we had a lot of problem on leakage. After a long time, we came to know that shet tadache plastic. That is, the farmers are using some plastic which comes on this much thickness, and with that we started doing with a brick and this. We had not made any permanent structure on the first floor. Then we started growing vegetable. That was the way we started. For planting the vegetable on the garden, usually question is asked, what will happen to our terrace leakage? This is one thing we have developed this. See, these are only bricks kept one over above. There is no cement, nothing concrete, and this is not permanent thing. Here what we do, we spread the plastic down and turn it on the first brick like this, and this brick like this, and this entirely like this. So this side is this slope. So here only we keep it at the floor level. Rest of thing you will find that it is always turned, and so it automatically become about 3 inches of a pot, which is say about 6 feet by 4 feet. And the plastic that we use is what farmers use for their storage of water nowadays. So it lasts much longer.
How do you check whether the soil is fertile, whether there is nutrition in soil?
Soil has naturally so many qualities which normally we don't study that. So when it was organic farmers, they didn't use that. Only thing they used to do that 4 months or 6 months, when there is no season, they took the rest. What is the problem with us? We want continuous something. we don't give the rest, and so soil consumes all the proteins there. A lot of waste we gather from kitchen or garden, we make our compost, and that is a huge help for us.
If you study deeply what is soil, you will know that the original soil, whichever type of soil, is an enriched soil actually. And we should go on enriching it, not replacing it. So please do not throw any soil outside. You can enrich that, and instead of buying something, you do your own fertilizer and put into this and enrich it. That what you need for a tree is basically NPK, nitrogen, phosphate and potash. These are the three main things, plus some micronutrients. And our soil is usually having this. You don't have to actually buy and put anything into this. Even we do soilless gardening, soilless vegetable gardening. That is the modern trend. Even on terrace, where the big problem is about the weight, this soil has become very useful. You can see with us that we have done the same experiment also.
So what difference do you see in terms of what's available and what's grown
See,
in house?
basically organic is for health. First thing, this is for health. Then there are other lot of advantages of organic vegetable and organic fruits. For example, vegetable do not take long time for cooking. The organic can last little longer than the ordinary one, without keeping in the fridge also. This thing.
Shelf life is more.
Being around so many plants, do you find that it is different in terms of your the air quality around you, or the way you feel staying here compared to the way you would feel if it is just a concrete house?
Yeah, it is definitely like that. Temperature in our house is 3 degrees less because of the terrace garden. Here are a lot of greenery, so people think there is something different over here. So we enjoy this. When we started, there was 40 categories of birds visiting here. Now it has come less.
Person like me who is staying in a 2 BHK apartment, okay, with a gallery which is not even getting any kind of a sunlight, and another gallery which is getting a sunlight only towards the later part of the day, what could be a good starting point?
Leafy vegetables, they need less sunlight. Or your balcony is lower at level, so there is insufficient lighting. So you can raise the platform something, or you can do it in hanging. So there you will get little more height. Some palak, methi, fenugreek, like that, you can do easily.
And leafy vegetable are a short growing product. So you will get kothambir, palak, etc. within 30 to 45 days. And having 10 by 10 balcony, or you are having garden, or you are having farmhouse, our further lecture will be telling you how to grow your own food, your own fruits and vegetables. We had recently, about 5 months before we started doing this, bag gardening, which is not, this is still under experimentations, this thing. This is Bengal, as you know. We have got flower.
This is the bogan, multicolor flowers. We tried this. This is a fruit tree, pomegranate. Lot of fruit we get. And there are some flowers also you will see here. Some creepers we have taken from ground over here, because they are also very useful, because lot of butterflies, honeybees, they come and they birds, and they help for pollination. So in vegetable also we tell that you get a mixed thing, some flowering plant, some fruit trees and some vegetables.
That is the pot kept for birds. Because of that water, the birds come here, and you know the birds eat insects, which is very helpful for us.
Can you show us a demonstration of how can I plant seeds? What are the precautions that we should take while planting seeds?
This is the tray I will be using for seed plantation for leafy vegetable mostly, because depth of this tray is very short. So some samples I have taken over here. Some seeds are very tiny.
Okay.
So if I go and drop this, they will be at one place only. So we will mix this in little of the soil, because it gathers otherwise. So second thing, we have to treat these seeds before plantation. Cow urine diluted 10 times can help you. If you soak for 5 minutes, then get it dried and then use it. Otherwise, this is a trichoderma. These are microbes developed by agriculture university, who will help you in curing the diseases from soils, etc. And then how to plant. So the mixture of the soil we have already done for the pot filling.
Right.
Same mixture we will do here. There are cow dung, there are neem cake, all the things. So I will mark it this way, not very low. The second comes to the soil condition. Soil must be dry and hot little. So when we go have little rain, and afterwards we have a gap bit in between. So that time we get a sunlight and it warms a little bit. So this time is very proper for plantation. So I will show you that this seed I will plant. So I will make a ridge for this. This is not too deep. This will be this much deep only. Two things: seeds should not be exposed to sunlight or for the birds. And secondly, it should not go too deep, so they won't germinate then. And then I will cover it little bit. Now about the distance, we have to take accordingly some distance, because they won't be combined. If they get combined, so they won't get sufficient sunlight. If we have to use these seeds, so we can pick up and seeds. But depending upon the sort of the vegetable, you have to keep the distance. For the leafy vegetables, they can be crowded. But these lady's finger and all this, we have to keep a distance about 7-8 inches at least, or 1 feet like that. So it depends. We have to spray this very lightly
On top of the soil.
top
where
of the soil.
seeds
It
are
should be just our soil is conditioned and mixture of fertilizers, etc. So it is very clean. But in agriculture, what happens if you plant water in between? So some weed also come out.
Okay.
This is the system for small seeds.
Nice. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Mr. Ugavkar, can you help us understand how to do mulching and what are the benefits of mulching?
For all gardeners, it is very important that they must protect their seeds, which is immediately planted, or the small plant which are planted, especially in summer. Summer, what happens, the direct scorching heat burns the soil and there will be damage to the plant. So for that, we have to do the mulching. What is mulching? Mulching is the dry leaves made in a small form and use it as a cover. That is actually mulching. What does it? Here you can see it there. These are the dried leaves which has been crushed, and then I am using this as a mulching on the top of this. And these are leaves. So when you water it, automatically it turns into fertilizer. But you crush it so that it turns into fertilizer faster.
as it covers, so evaporation also stops. So
No.
water requirement is very low then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is both way benefited.
During rainfall, if there is a particular day where there is very heavy rainfall,
Yeah.
do you see, some of the plants, whatever you've
Yeah, fortunately we have very good drainage. So water goes from here and it is good beneath. And if it is stuck over here, there are holes beneath.
Okay.
So we have to turn it around and check it whether it is blocked. That is a very important issue. When water is stagnant there, so it worsts. So that is the problem. Here that we have advantage because there is no pakka constructions over there. So in between all, no water staying there.
What is the sign of an over irrigated plant?
These leaves will get yellow first thing, and that's why we tell that you have got holes and you must see the water does not come outside from there. Watering you should never do in afternoon. Evening watering, if you do it there, you attract lot of insect. Usually the best time for the watering for garden is morning, if possible early morning.
You can take this like this. If this gathers, there is no necessity of watering.
Okay.
But it is just loose like this. So it needs the water.
If it just become lump, that means it is more water.
And
This is
when
the
you
very
water, and water comes from the drain, you have to stop. Because with the water, all your fertilizers also pass it away. So that is the test when it is sufficient water.
In some places, the water is collected, excess water.
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
Some people put the pot below for the plant which are indoor type. You should remember that you should throw that water periodically. Otherwise, you create problem with insect. If you are going outside,
So 2-3
about
days,
3-4
it will
days,
work.
how to water the plants? This is you get a bottle 1 liter or the 750 ml water. Make a hole in the top, put the water and just reverse it. It just goes by drip, 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 drip. The further thing, then you can add one thread into that so that it will take slowly the water. And in 3-4 days you can go and your plant.
Formerly
you don't
people
understand.
were doing that earthen pot. Earthen pot you have to dip over here, fill water, cover it and keep it over. If my plant is bigger, I can keep 2 or size I can change. That is was also old method. But now Bisleri has garbage problem, so both problem will solve there.
This is the trap that we have made it. See, you have got water, you got cow urine little bit to make it poisonous. There are hole on the top. From there, the fruit flies will enter from here, and there is inside, there is a male attraction.
Lure they call it.
Lure they call it. And towards loop this female go, and they just take a round of this thing die. You can see the how many we have catch there. You can see.
Because they damage this food. Mustard, yeah. For pest control we have taken this.
There is no disease here, but this is the leaf which will show you that it has started getting some disease. The insect has attacked.
So in between palak or something, you plant this. You can make one point that there is no attack of this anything. Yeah, this is a shelter we have done for this is cucumber. This is the strawberry. It loves the shade. And a second thing, farmers use plastic beneath that because in soil it damages. So we have tried this organic material.
That we have got bananas here. These wafa were small like this. As it started growing, we added bricks into this. And suppose if it needs support, we will still add the bricks like this. Like that, it can go up to the 8 bricks, and then it can hold the banana. When banana bears the fruit, it just falls or it just turns like this. So we indicated these are the places where we can tie that. That is also we have to very important.
We get about 150 to 100 bananas.
Yeah. This is the place which is the coolest in our garden. This we started only for the plant which loves shade. But afterward we turn into a orchid garden. You can see these orchids. They come on the 1st of April. Here, this is of Konkan. This is from Kerala. This is Sheti Chiveni. This is the last one. That is from Konkan. And when the temperature goes above, so we have to start the sprinkler like this. These sprinklers are over the pump. Whenever we water, we start sprinkler at least over 1.5 hours. The maximum humidity we try to create here. That's it. And all these hangings we have transferred here. And these are the ornament plant used for the Ikebana
Wow.
util.
Luckily, you have iris today. Interesting point of iris is this. This come out of leaves. And you will get his next plant here only. This is anthurium. This is pink one. This is white. There are some pinks. You can see.
Anthurium does not need any soil. They are usually in the coconut husk. You can see there. These are all the coconut husk.
Coconut husk, then coal dust, like this. Soil is very less.
Yeah.
We have used the place from ground to upstairs. There are anthuriums there.
These are a traditional compost. It is below floor level about 2.5 feet, and above this about 2 feet. It takes a long time, nearly 4 to 5 months. You have to keep it cool. You have to keep it moist always. So we have got a sprinkler over this thing, which we use it especially in summer season. Otherwise, we just sprinkle water with this hand. And you can see the leaves. And we are putting everything that is cut in our garden.
So we can call it as a leaf mold.
It is a leaf mold, actually. And if you put a hand below this thing, it is a little hotter. It is hot here. See the water. We have just sprinkled it, but now see each of the leaves are getting slowly converted.
And this is the final result.
Yeah.
This mainly contains nitrogen because we use the leaves more.
Okay.
So we have to use this along with stearamil for vegetables. For stearamil,
yeah.
we use.
But this
all
is the end use. Garbage from our kitchen. That means whatever we cut there, fruit, flower, everything, that we bring it and put into this. Finally, it get converted like this. Little blackish, but finally it becomes like this. We call it as an ATM. This is a famous name. Everybody knows what is ATM. The temperature, moisture, and movement. This thing. It must cause ventilation. We did a lot of experiment with the different types of pots, but it must have ventilation here from all sides. And then we have to water it periodically to keep it moist. So you have to control temperature. Decomposter is a small powder that we get in agriculture. You have to use it 2 or 3 days. After 3 days, you get little powder. That powder you have to sprinkle it there, so it gets faster. Actually, within 2 months, you can make this thing.
It is purely organic. They are microbes. They have grown it on agriculture college.
You can put leftover, even spoiled food, rice or anything, you can put into this.
You said that in some plants you preserve the seeds for further season.
Yeah.
Which plant seeds we can preserve and how to know good quality?
Yeah. So when we plant this, we can collect the seeds. Otherwise, from guaranteed nursery we can collect. But many of the nurseries, they don't provide vegetable plants. They all ornamental plants they sell. Other thing is, if you bring seed and try to cultivate your plant. So if your sapling is ready, how you will recognize? So sapling shifting is also a critical point.
Can you show us how to do plantation of a sapling?
I will tell you. We start from the pot. This pot must have a hole beneath
Okay.
for drainage. This is a must. There are 2 holes. Secondly, this is a earthen pot. So we have to select this only. They have special benefits because they have pores and it is beneficial to the plants. So at the bottom on that hole I will keep this. This is for the drainage. My soil should not go, but excess water should go. Afterwards, second thing, I will give a layer for some of this is coconut. This doesn't dissolve very fast and it is aerated. So we use this. Then after this, I will put some dry leaves. They are partially dried. We have to see that they are cleaned. There is no plastic, nothing in that. So this is mulch I will keep, and after that we have to keep the soil. This is the soil mixture I have prepared. So there are so many things in this. So approximately 40% of soil. Which soil is better? That river side soil, because it carries with the water flow so many things with them. Some vegetables, rocks, everything, minerals. So that soil is preferred. So it is not very sticky. So it should be loose, but not be very loose that water should not retain. Yeah. So this water I have mix cow dung, then neem oil, neem cake, then stearamil, ash, little compost. 40% soil I keep, and all other thing I will do. There is no fixed ratio of this, but you have to add as far as possible all organic material on this, so it will help you. So after this last stage will be I will keep this soil in this. So I will keep place little, then I will make little space in between to plant my saplings. While filling, we have to keep some 3 or 4 inches empty. We should not cover up to the end. This is vegetable sapling, so it is too small. Normally it comes in the plastic tray or something. So I will show you. I will make little space. This should be at the center, so the roots can spread over there, and I will plant this like that. Then I will fix the soil over here. Then I will again add the remaining things. After this, we have to give little pressure, so it will be compacted little bit, and then we have to water it very slowly. After we give a water, we have to keep this plant in shade at least for 2-3 days. Otherwise it is shocked, so it won't go well. If there is big plant, you have to transfer it. Why it is? So roots are spread over here, and they will so thickly spread that they will compete for the food, and eventually this also can be break. So we have to take this out with a very soft hand. We have to. Then there are 2 types of roots. Some are smaller supporting roots. It should not be cut. Then smaller roots, they go here and there and they collect the food. So they can be trimmed. So we have to trim it, then clean the pot again and again replant it. Some grafted thing you have to plant. Then the graft portion should be 3 or 4 inches above the soil, because the grafted situation is a very weak stage. So if the soil goes in between, it will hamper the thing.
We are doing all these things because more and more people should do the vegetable as well as flower plant in organically, which is poisonless.
If you ever visit the Pashan Lake in the summer months, you'll see a green carpet blocking out any presence of water in the lake. This water hyacinth is not just a sore sight but also an indicator of extremely polluted water and a mosquito menace. The Pashan Lake must be restored as it is home to many species of birds and a beautiful public space. Dr. Gurudas Nulkar is going to present to us a restoration plan for the Pashan Lake. Dr. Nulkar is a professor of management at the Symbiosis Center of Management. He is a founding member of the Ram Nadi Restoration Mission and a trustee at Ecological Society. Let's watch this restoration plan.
In this session, we're going to talk about what are the ecological restoration efforts we're going to do on the Pashan Lake. So let me take you through that presentation. The Pashan Lake, you would probably be aware of, was built as a result of the barrage which was created on the Ram Nadi. This barrage was created to feed the governor with fresh vegetables which were growing in Pashan and also to supply drinking water to the governor's bungalow. Once upon a time, the Pashan Lake was a thriving wetland ecosystem. It had a variety of flora, it had a variety of fauna, mainly because of the fluctuating water levels and the swampy nature of its banks. It had a relatively large open space around itself, which attracted many migratory birds. The diversity of habitat was a huge attractor to insects, butterflies, moths, birds, mammals, and of course the fish, which inhabited the Pashan Lake. To plan for our efforts of ecological restoration of the Pashan Lake, we used a report which was created by the Ecological Society on ecological guidelines for management of the Pashan Lake. This was commissioned by the Center for Environment Education and comprised of 11 field visits by various experts from June to September of 2017. So this report gives the present state of the lake as well as sets a vision for what would be a thriving wetland ecosystem for Pune city. What you see right now on the screen is the Google Earth view of Pashan Lake. On one side, towards the west, you will see the expressway, which runs from Mumbai right up to Bangalore. On the eastern side, there is a plantation. On the northern side, there is a jogging track, and the barrage lies to one side of northeast. It's a relatively small barrage, but the water body behind the barrage is huge. Let me quickly take you through the observations and findings of the report of Ecological Society. Ecological Society observed from past records that this was a rich, diverse habitat. It had woodlands and plantations, it had post-bunt stream, it was a beautiful stream flowing on basalt rock, it had marshlands and combination of marsh and acacia trees and bushes. It also had deep waters as well as shallow waters which were wading habitats for and mud banks. There was no highway to the west bank, and therefore all the rains which drained on the hills towards the west, the rains drained into the Pashan Lake. The water quality was fairly good and consistent in the Pashan Lake. The specialized aquatic vegetation, 78 species have been recorded in 1981. Ground orchids were recorded. There were at least about 4 or 5 different types of orchids which have been recorded along the Pashan Lake. It comprises of a rich faunal diversity. It had butterflies, dragonflies, damselflies, beetles, bugs, and other insects which shared the habitat with migratory birds. Palm civets, jungle cats, squirrel, grey mongoose, and fruit bats also occupied these territories. Butterflies included plain tiger, striped tiger, denade eggfly, so on and so forth. And most importantly, this habitat was a rich, diverse habitat for migratory birds. And you can see the list of migratory birds which we have on the screen here. Not just the migratory birds, but there was a wealth of resident birds which were living there. However, between the period 2008 to 2013, There was a beautification project which was undertaken on the lake, and this transformed the habitat. It changed the habitat diversity. There was a monoculture of nilgiri and bamboo plantations. Nature trail plantations which were taking place were of khair, katesawar, pangara, and other native species which are essentially not aquatic species. They're forest species. So they attracted forest birds and not the aquatic ecosystem birds. Bamboo plantations removed the line of sight for migratory birds. These migratory birds flow in from Ladakh and Mongolia and Siberia, and they are used to open spaces. Now, if there is vegetation, they don't feel secure in that thick vegetation, and they have stopped coming from their hometowns into the Pashan Lake. Two of the banks were pitched with rock pitching, and that changed the habitat completely. Now there is no wading surface left for waders to stand with their feet in the water and hunt for fish. Islands were created, but these islands, when the water dried up in the summer, these islands could be accessed by feral dogs, and therefore the birds did not lay their eggs on these islands. Excavation, desilting, all of these started happening, and this beautification project completed with a boating access given. So now there are no waders. The bird diversity along the jogging track has changed because there are forest trees which are planted. As boating was promoted in the lake, that also drove away the deep water birds like the ducks and the cormorants. Now we come to look at the observations which the Ecological Society report has. The report talks about 110 plant species, very few specific special aquatic species like nymphea and nymphioids. These were not recorded. Alarming drop in the aquatic vegetation species which were reported in the 1981 report. The Nilgiri plantation has got an understory which is dominated by aggressive weeds like Eupatorium, Parthenium, Cosmos, all of that. The sloping banks remove the waders, like we said before. Pitching changes the ecological relationship between the water and the upland area. Now, when you add pitching to the slopes, that is not what is naturally found in a wetland ecosystem. You have a few scattered rocks, but you don't have a continuous surface of dark basalt rocks on that. These rocks heat up in the day, and that habitat becomes very difficult for any seeds to germinate or any waders to stand. In the evening, that habitat starts letting out heat and it becomes uninhabitable. There is invasive aquatic vegetation today. So you will see a proliferation of water hyacinth, pistia, and alternanthera, which is growing around. All of these are forming thick mats, and they prevent the sunlight from reaching the deeper waters and also oxygen from dissolving in the water. Several sources of pollution were noted, and especially point source of pollution from Ram Nadi, which is coming as the sewage waste from all the residential colonies in Baudhan. There is sewage coming from the industries around the Ram Nadi there. There is washing which is happening on the banks, clothes, vehicles, all of these are washed. The cattle which are bathing. There is tremendous amount of non-point source pollution which is coming from the highway, from the roads, garage, open defecation, so on and so forth. Look at the brief review of trend in birds list at Pashan Lake, which you see on the screen right now. The first column shows the years. So the species are recorded from 1982 to 2017 through various researches which were conducted in these years. The number of species reported in a single list has dropped from 69 in 82 to 32 in 2017. That's a significant reduction in the number of faunal species. If you look at the species per se, then you will see the count has reduced from 1991 to 2016. So, for example, the northern pintail, 325 individuals were recorded in 1991. But in 2016, only 15 individuals have been recorded. And you can see that all of these are aquatic birds which are seen less and less today. What are the birds which have proliferated, whose population has increased? You will see the house crow, the large-billed crow, the common myna, and the black-winged stilt. All of these birds are indicators of habitat there's something wrong in that ecosystem. There's pollution, there's human interference, there is too much invasive vegetation. All of these are indicated by these 4 species which you see on the screen right now. So what is our plan for management and restoration of Pashan Lake? First is to create a list of goals. And here on the screen, you will see the goals of lake improvement in the restoration program: to recreate the habitats, to improve and restore biodiversity, to restore the natural ecosystem and upland vegetation, to improve the aquatic life in the water, and then finally to turn the lake into a place of natural beauty and a source of joy for citizens. So we are not taking an anthropocentric approach. We are not taking an approach where only human beings will be benefited from an extraordinary natural ecosystem, but we first want to create an ecosystem which has a thriving quantity of fauna, flora, and abiotic elements. So revival of the ecosystem services are going to happen only when the ecosystem starts functioning to its natural capacity. So only then we will get carbon sequestration, microclimate regulation, rainwater drainage, groundwater recharge, there'll be a thriving food chain, and then there is recreational and cultural value for human beings. Most importantly, we want to make this ecosystem as a self-sustaining ecosystem with minimum human interference. We want it to be a natural ecosystem. A natural ecosystem is one which is managed by nature. So we have now shortlisted 4 important areas where we need to work upon, like you see on the screen. First is excessive nutrients and organic matter which enter through sewage. Second, the physical and hydrological changes which have happened in the lake. Third, construction and beautification interventions which have happened in the 2008 project. And fourth, proliferation of exotic species. Each one of these points we need to work separately and together, which means we have to look at it from a holistic ecological perspective. What are we going to do with the banks? Earlier, the Pashan Lake was comprised of sloping banks where the waders could come and stand. So you could have the egrets, the herons, the spoonbills, the ibis who could put their feet in water and stand there. When it was converted into a deep bowl, then there is no habitat for waders. Today there are very few habitats for waders. So what are we going to do? We're going to make sloping edges. And these sloping edges will have vegetation because there is sunlight which reaches that. And once you have vegetation on these sloping routes, then there'll be fish which come there to spawn, there'll be crustacean, there'll be whole lot of aquatic life forms, and that will attract the birds. We'll make perches, so on and so forth. So first, what are we going to start with? What are our priorities? The first priority is, of course, to clean up. There's a lot of solid waste lying around. There's a lot of plastic, cloth, so many things which are strewn around. All those will be removed continuously, not just one point of time, but it will be done throughout the next 3 years. Second, we're going to stop all sewage ingress. And when we are going to stop sewage ingress, we will start at Bhugao. You would have noticed that we started our work at Khatpewadi Lake a couple of years back. And the reason was to improve the Pashan Lake and the Ram Nadi ecosystem. So we started at the source and we have now coming towards Pashan Lake. So here, when we're going to do a sewage and cleanup, it's going to be at Bhukum and Bhugao. It's going to be at all the resorts around Manas and Khatpewadi Lakes. And it will also be along the Ram Nadi, all the colonies and residential societies which are present there. The next, what you see on the screen here is the Ram Nadi entering the Pashan Lake. And I've drawn a yellow line with red dots there. This line represents the Ram Nadi which enters the Pashan Lake. So Pashan Lake is towards the north of this slide and Ram Nadi is flowing from the south. What we propose to do here in this space is to have a reed bed ecosystem. This reed bed ecosystem will act as a biological and a physical filter. Why this particular area? Because this is a well-protected area. It's got fence on both sides. It is owned by DRD, Bharat Electronics, and so on and so forth. Plantation of aquatic vegetative species will act as biological and physical filters. And most importantly, a reed bed will be a self-maintaining ecosystem. And that will improve the water which flows into the Pashan Lake. So we have a length of about 850 meters designated here. And that will also provide ample habitat for aquatic life. The third, We propose to give it full protection. We don't want people coming and partying at night. We don't want people coming and throwing plastic solid waste around, not just in the day, but also in the night. Fourth point is we want to start with a program of removal of the invasive species. So there is water hyacinth, there's pistia, there is eupatorium, there's parthenium, there is cosmos. All of these flora, as well as the non-native species in the aquatic flora, are going to be removed, not just in one point of time, but over a 3-year period. We are going to do periodic soil and water analysis to see if there is an improvement in the monsoon as well as the dry seasons. We are going to do selective removal of the non-native trees. So Nilgiri, for example, will be selectively. We are just not going to pull down all the trees of Subabul and Nilgiri, but they'll be done selectively, and plantations will immediately be done suitably. We propose a system of aeration for the water. Right now, the water is stagnant and there's hardly any mixing of oxygen, dissolved oxygen in the water. If we give a fountain, if we give a system to splash the water, then that is a good way of aerating the water. And once the dissolved oxygen in water reaches about 6 to 8 ppm, then aquatic life will start coming back. Most importantly, we propose a complete ban on washing of vehicles, rickshaws, scooters, cattle bath, all of these kind of things, because they are adding non-points pollution into the Pashan Lake. The ninth point which we wish to take up is to restore the building which PMC has created on one of the banks, on the northern banks, and to create an interpretation center there. What is an interpretation center? Simply said, it's like a modern day museum of what a natural ecosystem looks like. So we propose to put the entire Ram Nadi ecosystem in a model format, in a diorama format, where children, school children, as well as citizens can come and see the functioning of the ecosystem, understand the purification capacity of a river, see what is a riparian vegetation, so on and so forth. This will be a strong attractor of the Pashan Lake. We also propose to have a watchtower for birders, for citizen, and it will be controlled. It will not be at several places, but it will just be at one place where you can take a good look at the ecosystem. And of course, the signages for the trees, fauna, all of that, we propose to put that. So whenever you next will go walking along the Pashan Lake, you'll be able to recognize what tree that you're looking at or what tree the bird is sitting on. The 11th point, we are still contemplating whether we want to make a walking and cycling track and where we want to make a cycling and walking track. Like I said before, we want to restrict the human access around the lake, and that will only help the biodiversity to come back there. And thus, restricted entry of tourists during the first phase, educational recreation, biodiversity, ecosystem functions, services, all of these are going to be considered when we are doing that. That's broadly an overview of what we wish to do with the Pashan Lake and how we wish to conduct these activities. If you have any questions, do put them down in the chat and we'll come back to you with some of the answers. Thank you for now.
Thank you for joining us for the second edition of the online Kirloskar Vasundhara Ram Nadi Festival. We hope this festival inspires you to take action for the river, whether it is online or on the ground, in whatever way you choose. The Ram Nadi is under immense pressure from humans, and it is only our involvement and work that is going to restore the Ram Nadi to its original glory. With the hope that this happens sooner rather than later, we will take your leave now. See you by the river.